Alrighty guys, so here we are. I gave you a teaser short on the YouTube there a little bit ago. I'm Josh. Had a guy ask me, we see your video, we see what you look like, we don't know your name. It's Josh, and I'm with Truck Stuff. And today we have a special guest, as you can tell by the banner behind us, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Tanner with Insane Diesel.
Okay, so we did a 2025 brand new Cummins. It's the new 6th gen Cummins, and we put one of their systems on there, and it was for a 5th gen, but we had to modify a couple things and make a bracket, but we got everything installed, and that truck is doing well. It's back east somewhere right now. The guy travels around the country. He's a hot shotter, so that's going to be a perfect opportunity to see exactly what Insane Diesel's oil filter bypass and their products are going to do for the trucks. Now I'm going to go ahead and let Tanner talk a little bit about what their system does, how it does it, and why everybody should be putting that on their we're not going to say just diesels anymore. We're going to say trucks, period, because these systems can go on gas and diesel as well. So go ahead, let us educate us.
So this is our bypass filter system that Josh installed on that 2025 Cummins. What it does is it takes a slipstream of oil from the sump, runs it through this 1 micron element, progressively 10 down to 1 micron by the time it comes out of the bottom. Beta 298.7% efficiency at 2 microns, and so 1 micron, you're just a little bit off of that, I'm sure, as far as the efficiency rating. Returns it back to the fuel cap, and basically keeps your engine oil laboratory clean for the entire time the engine's running.
I want you to take that statement right there and elaborate a little bit more about how your guys' oil analysis works, because a lot of the other oil analysis companies are only measuring on about, what, 12 points?
Yeah.
And that's because they can't see into the oil.
Yeah. Yep. So the lab that we use that's here local in Utah, they measure, I think, 28 parameters. If you ask them to, they will do what they call the ISO code or the laser net finds. Diesel engine oil generally can't find the laser net finds or the ISO code off of it because it's so dark that the laser picks up shadows and you get a faulty reading either above or below what it really is. With our bypass filter, you can get the ISO code off of the oil when you do your analysis. So, and generally from what we see, like on a trending basis, we're coming to the ISO code is cleaner than the ISO code off of the brand new virgin oil. So you get like on a brand new engine oil, you're generally in the 20s on the first number, in the teens on the second number, and in the 10s or up to 10 on the last number. We just did one on a Duramax, had 5,000 miles on the oil, and it had a 16 on the first number, and a 9 on the second number, and a 0, meaning it couldn't read any particles larger than 4 micron, or 4 micron and above, couldn't measure any particles.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, so it's basically, like I said, laboratory clean, meaning you can have your oil analyzed, see that it is laboratory cleaner than virgin oil.
They'll actually be able to go through and trace where that oil came from.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about laboratory clean and the ISO numbers, that is, you can trace oil back to its source from where it was manufactured at by those numbers. And with your system, it's keeping it that clean to where we can still see.
And it'll actually be cleaner than, like even our oil, the Lorenzo's oil. If you take a virgin sample of this, it's going to be in those ranges of the 20s, the teens, and the 10s for the virgin sample. But then after you run it through the bypass filter for 5,000 miles, now it's way less than what it was when it was virgin. So it really keeps the oil clean. Generally, what you're going to look for on an oil sample is the oxidation level, your TBN, total base number, and because everything else is trending down. The wear metals are trending down, the additives. The additives stay the same, so it doesn't filter out additives. important to know, because additives are submicron, not above 1 micron, and so you can take a virgin sample of the Lorenzo's, look at the ad pack, and then follow that all the way across, and you'll lose a little bit of the additives over time, but it doesn't filter all of the additives out of it. So you can watch the trending level go down on the additives, the wear metals and all of the other particulates go down, the soot level trends down. The longer you run it, the cleaner it gets, basically. And so then you're just watching for TDN and oxidation. And
how fast is the filter rate on your system?
so it's about 1 quart per minute at idle, which is around 20 psi, depending on what the engine is. At 40 psi, you're 2 to 3 quarts a minute. And then at your 60 psi,
I have video that we're going to stitch in right here that shows exactly how much it's filtering at an idle.
At an idle? Oh, perfect. Yeah, so it's a trickle at an idle. And if you pulled the cap off while you have it
that's what I did.
60 psi, it's shooting.
I pulled it out and I was watching. I'm like, that's how much we're actually flowing through this system.
Yeah,
That's
so it's
impressive.
It's about 1.5 quart, up to 1.5 quarts per minute at 60 psi.
And that gives a lot of testament to your filter element too, because it's able to filter down to that small 1 micron. Do people even understand how small 1 micron is?
I don't know. I think
it's 1/1,000,000th of an inch.
1/1,000,000th of an inch, yeah.
So 1/1,000,000th of an inch.
So your hair follicle is like 20 microns.
20 microns, right?
So
when we're talking about being able to filter this oil down to 1 micron at a quart a minute.
Yeah, even at the low point of the quart per minute, you're
Right.
going through the system, on a Cummins engine every 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're filtering 15 gallons of oil every. Yeah. So it's amazing.
15 quarts of oil every 15 minutes.
quarts, not gallons.
Yep. But
I'm
when
thinking-
you're running at high idle, 60 psi, you're running through it a lot faster.
Of course.
You're running through it every couple of minutes. So,
Of course.
yeah. So that's how it's able to keep the oil clean, even though there's constant soot being reintroduced through the EGR, through the, all the places where your soot gets down into the oil. It's constantly adding, but this is constantly subtracting. And so it's able to keep your oil clean over its entire running life.
And then so with the fuel additive, we're also going to reduce the amount of soot
Yep.
that is being produced through the combustion process as
Yep.
well, right?
Yep, so our fuel additive is a polymer-based fuel additive, and what it does is the polymer encapsulates the fuel so that as it sprays out of the injectors, it sprays all the same size molecules, so when the ignition happens, it burns all the same time frame and temperature as equally.
And it's going to
reduces the overspray like on the cylinder walls, and
Reduce
gets all the
detonation.
fuel into the air.
Gotcha.
Entrains the fuel into the air better, and so
A near perfect atomization.
yeah, near perfect atomization, which equals a near perfect burn. And we can see that through a 6-gas analyzer on the emissions testing equipment. Reduces hydrocarbons by 90% at idle, and then still reduces NOx and CO and NO and all the other 6 gases by a small percentage as well.
Right. So to people who don't understand the really technical stuff, when you have a gas molecule or a diesel molecule this big and a diesel molecule this big, to burn this diesel molecule, you're going to create a lot more heat than what it takes to burn this one. You just keyed on something there with the oxides of nitrogen, NOx, and what the SCR has to do with the after treatment system on these engines is to reduce the temperatures. That's why the EGR system is there with the EGR cooler, is to reduce combustion temperatures. So now if we can take all of our fuel molecules and make them the same size, you don't have those hot spots in there, so NOx production is automatically decreased. So it's going to be a lot less work on the EGR system, and then thus down through the DPF and into the SCR, because the SCR is what takes care of NOx. So you're going to see DEF consumption dramatically decrease. I'm going to assume, yeah?
Yep.
Instead of having 1 or 2 gallons every 500 miles, you're going to be 1 or 2 gallons every 1,000
Yeah,
miles.
reduces regens by about 60%. I mean, obviously, depending on what you're doing, how you're driving, if you're towing, not towing, all those type of things. But it generally overall reduces it about 60%, your regens by 60%. So that's reducing your DEF intake or the DEF spray. I guess depending on the system though, does DEF spray all the time, no matter what, or does it only spray not during a regen?
No, they don't spray DEF during a regen, which kind of
It's right before that, yeah.
Right.
So, but is it all the time in between?
There's a lot of parameters that have to be met for the DEF system to start working. They're gonna definitely on hard acceleration and cruise, but they shut the DEF off during deceleration. During the regen, right? Yeah. During regen and deceleration.
Yeah. So it's actually not going to reduce the DEF intake then, but it's going to reduce the regens, which during a regen you're dumping diesel fuel into the exhaust system to reburn in the DPF.
Yeah. So for the Cummins guys, pre-2025, it's going to reduce the fuel stacking, which is also going to reduce the fuel dilution in the engine oil. If we can prevent that system from going into regen by making everything more efficient, then the regen cycles are down, therefore the fuel stacking is down, therefore the dilution in the engine oil is down.
Yep, and therefore your SCR stays cleaner, your DPF stays cleaner, your EGR, which is really important, stays cleaner, therefore prolonging the life of all of those systems because they're not getting that carbon, as much carbon caked onto them. Yeah. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of all the carbon.
And I have seen some of them EGR coolers. I've pulled them off the trucks. And
with this hole this big left in it?
Oh, terrible. You know, we go to do a 6-7 service, which is a timed service that comes on a Cummins every 67,000 miles. But you pull the EGR cooler off and look down there to make sure we don't have any coolant intrusion in there. And I look at it and go, we can't even clean this. You might want to sell this customer an EGR cooler because it's so caked up. You know, we call it coke is where that soot, it's actually a byproduct of it, we call it coke. So when you see your air grid heater all caked up, it's coked up, and if you see the EGR cooler or the EGR valve all coked up, then it's very bad for the whole system.
Yep.
And then when that coke starts to break off in chunks, it starts going through the engine, and that's where you create a lot of your damage.
To the cylinder walls and the rings.
Well, and it's a very abrasive substance.
Yep.
It's very abrasive. So
seats. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It just wipes out everything along the way. So this is all awesome. It's good news for everybody who's wanting to get as much as they can out of their diesel by not only just treating the maintenance schedule, but by perfecting the maintenance program with the bypass kit, but also by treating your fuel.
Yep.
That's awesome. Now, we do also want to show another part here that you might have seen a couple little hints of through the video. This engine has been featured on another channel. I'm not going to mention names, but this is the 990,000 mile Ford 6.7? 893,000 Ford 6.7. The only thing that this truck had done to it was the oil filter bypass and the cooler.
Oil cooler with the oil and
with the oil and the fuel additive. I don't see bearings like this in this good a condition on engines that run 20,000 miles. And this is just shy of 1,000,000 miles. That red coating that you see on these main bearings is a factory coating. Usually that wears off within the first 1,000 miles of operation. So these scratches that are in here are actually because one of the lifter's roller bearings failed and it shot metal throughout the whole system. It's amazing that that coating is still on there. I can't believe it. But you're going to tell us that they measured all of the tolerances of this engine and everything was still within the manufacturer's specifications.
Manufacturer specifications. With the exception of the push rod guides were wallowed like tens of thousands on the top.
These little guys right here, they're plastic.
So not these guys then.
Is it the one in the head?
Yeah, in the head.
In the head?
So the head where those go through was wallowed just a little bit.
Now this is one of the cam bearings. And again, it's in darn near perfect condition. And these are the rod bearings. We could pick up any pair out of the pile here, and they all look the same. What little bit of metal shot through when that lifter failed is where these micro scratches came in on here. But what's really important about this whole thing, and when we're talking about what additives to run in your vehicle, is this truck also had the original CP4 pump.
Yep.
And was there any wear in that CP4 pump?
No wear in it. You can look at it if you want, or you can pull it out if you want.
Did we put it away?
That's just in the box.
Yeah. So here is the original CP4 it's amazing that, you know, everybody knows that the CP4 is a pile of junk.
Say the miles again.
891,000 miles.
893,000.
893,000 miles. There is no scoring down on the bores.
On the plungers, on the shaft, on the rollers.
The rollers are still perfect. There is no scratches in there at all. And you got to think that this side is fuel and this side is oil. So you're not seeing any wear on the fuel side as well as the oil side. So again, testament to the products. And I'm just
protects the pumps, protects the injectors, protects
everything.
everything.
Now, I wish they would have gotten their head out of their butt when they first decided to put a CP4 in any engine, but they didn't. This is testament right here to a pump that we know will fail. This one didn't fail. That's amazing.
Still good. Could go another 900,000.
Yeah. So you have a dream.
Keep using the additives.
You have a dream about this engine. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I want to put this thing back together. Replace obviously the 2 roller lifters, and I'd just do the whole lifter set. Obviously, you'd have to replace the cam because a couple of the lobes got messed up when the lifters failed. And put this thing back together and put it in a truck and keep going. So I want to see how far I can go. I mean, we make it to 2 million or 3 million.
We're talking about a diesel with 893,000 miles, and the paint is still on the skirts on the piston.
So you 6-7 Ford guys, hit us up. Tell us if you need an engine that you would run a lot of miles a year on, and we'll put this engine in your truck and you run another million on.
Let's run another million on.
Yeah.
it. Man, this is amazing. I hate Ford. All of you know that, but to see the testament of the product and the system and what it can do for your
That's
engine.
why I think it's so amazing, is because these engines are known to go down between 250, if you take really good care of it, 250 to 400. And to see this engine go that far, if you're a Duramax guy, I mean, if you take really good care of your engine, you can probably go close to 1 million miles without our bypass filter. But a 6-7 Power Stroke, there's no way you're making it that far.
And with the Cummins, there's no way you're making it that far without doing a whole lot of modifications.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't have to put our trucks through a weight loss program just to make them dependable again.
Yeah. That was basically John Lorenzo's dream.
Right.
We shouldn't have to do all this. We can keep the same maintenance and the longevity of a diesel engine. You can get the same fuel economy out of it because all that stuff has killed the fuel economy. You used to get really good mileage out of a diesel engine, and now with all the emissions systems, it's killed the fuel economy. So if you can get your fuel economy back, if you can get your reliability back, then you actually have diesel is actually worth something again, rather than they're just as problematic as a gas engine now with all the emission systems. So he designed all these products to be able to do that with any truck. And if you do have a weight loss program, then it's more phenomenal.
Yeah, it's more phenomenal.
And the bypass filter say that we have bypass filters for gas engines too. It's not just diesel. We have bypass filters for gas engines.
So we have bypass filters for gas or diesel engines. Any engine you want. I've got one on my Razor. I've got one on my boat. Any engine you can imagine.
Yeah.
We've sold a bunch of Hemi kits. The Hemi guys love the bypass filter.
I'm curious to see if that's going to help take care of the Hemi tick.
It might.
Because, we'll talk about that. But with all of this being said about this, we do have a truck that we just installed one of the bypass filter kits on, and as soon as the cooler kits come back in stock, we're going to be installing that on there as well. It's a 2025 5500, and he's a hot shot transporter, and he's traveling thousands of miles a week across country and back. So we're going to keep a really close eye on all of the fuel samples and what the tests bring back. We're going to share that with you guys. We're going to keep a series going on, I guess we can say. So hopefully we can see, you know, a couple 100,000 miles a year out of the truck and be able to tell exactly what the health of that engine is throughout all the analysis tests and everything. So, man.
Yeah, that's the other great part about the analysis is it doesn't just tell you the condition of the oil, it tells you the condition of your engine.
Right.
So if you have any antifreeze getting into your oil, it tells you that. If you have a leak even in your air filter, you'll get like high silica content, and you'll know that you're getting dirt into your system. And so you fix we just had a guy that his boot on his intake wasn't tightened down all the way, and he got a high silica, and he's like, why is this? And I'm like, you're getting dirt in the engine, man. Like either you're going down a lot of dirty dirt roads, or you're not changing your air filter.
Yeah.
So he went and checked it, and sure enough, one of them was loose and sucking air. Like bypassing the air filter.
He's gonna have to replace his turbo.
Yeah, he might. Yeah.
There's nothing that this can do.
But he caught that early. If he would have kept going, you know, another 50,000 miles with it like that, or 20,000, or however far with that, it would have been a lot worse. Where he caught it in the interval.
Right.
So and was able to correct it. So same thing with antifreeze. You know, generally you don't know until it's almost too late and a whole lot of damage has been caused. But if you get a sample that's got a high sodium content or high glycol content, you're getting antifreeze in there, and you know I've got to fix either head gasket or an oil cooler, or an EGR cooler, or whatever you have to do, and you catch those things early so that before damage happens. It's the best way to sum up oil analysis. I mean, it's a catch everything early type of a situation. And for the price, I mean, you can't go wrong. Even the guy that had the air leaking into his air filter, if he would have left it off for another, I mean, it could have took out his turbo. How much that cost? And it cost him, you know, $33 for a sample.
Right. So this is going to go back to a lot of the statements that I've made in the past about oil change intervals. And my philosophy has always been, if you go 15,000 miles on your oil change interval, you're probably not doing the smartest thing that you should be doing for your engine. That's without this oil bypass in there. And if you follow the program and take your samples and send them in to get tested, now we can tailor your oil change interval based on your driving conditions and your habits, and if you're towing or you're not towing and all of that stuff. So we're actually able to see 15,000 on just filter changes.
15,000 on the element change. Yeah, the engine oil filter and the bypass filters, we normally recommend changing those at least every 15,000 miles.
Tell him the intervals that he did on this, like how far he got up to.
So, like with this engine, he was trending his samples to see how far he could go. So we went, 5,000 first, was changing all the filters and the oil, and then going 10,000 and changing filter and oils. Through a few intervals, that kind of cleaned up all the residual buildup that was in the engine. And eventually he could see my engine oil is still 99% good at 10,000 miles. It's still 98% good at 15,000 miles. And so he pushed it to 25,000 miles. He pushed it to 35,000 miles on his oil change intervals, with the oil never being below 90% of what it was when it was new.
You guys can do the math on that, right? If you're not changing your 3 gallons of oil every 15,000 miles, you're just changing your filters. I'm pretty sure y'all could add 2 plus 2 together. That's one hell of a savings over 100,000 miles.
Oh yeah.
Now this truck, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't put the oil bypass on until it was at 40,000, right?
It was just before 100,000, so he did it in the first year, but he drives 150,000 miles a year, so he did it around just before 100.
So he had 100,000 miles of wear
on this before,
and it cleaned it up that fast.
Yeah, cleaned it up in probably 4 intervals. You start seeing the change in the color of the oil.
Right.
After 8 intervals, I mean, you can really start seeing, even with an EGR, like the guy I was talking to today, he's got 2.8 Duramax. After I think his 8th interval, his oil in the dipstick stays completely clear. Like, it looks like honey. Like, you can't even tell it's a diesel engine.
Well, and for us diesel mechanics, that means that we don't have black hands every day. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really glad that I actually found you guys and was actually able to have this sit down. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Thanks for coming
a
out.
game changer.
Yeah.
For sure. So I want to thank all of you guys for watching and, you know, liking my videos and my content. I do want to invite you to head over to Insay Diesel's website. Take a look. The proof is in the pudding. We've got testimonials, we've got reviews, all of the stuff. If you don't like what I have to say, then give them a call. He's going to spill it out to you, whatever language you need is spoken to you. And also head over to JB Reviews, because he's also doing a video on this as well. And yeah, like, comment, share all of our stuff, and let us know what you think. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. I'm probably not going to be the best one to answer those questions. Tanner's probably going to be better suited to answer that. Now, if you want this stuff installed, you can get a hold of me. You can also get a hold of Tanner, and we're going to be able to get one put in your kit either way. Get one of these kits put in your truck either way. I need to speak in proper
It's late.
form here, right? But yeah, hit us up. It's all good. But I want to thank you, Tanner. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.